You've been promised a future where technology completely eliminates human error from our streets, right? Well, what if I told you that exact same technology is currently hardwiring the biggest urban planning disaster we've ever seen? Welcome to a special investigative explainer from the Human Error News Network. If you want to join our community of truth seekers, hit subscribe right now. Because today, we're tearing down the gap between that slick tech utopia you've been sold and the messy reality of your daily commute. We're going to look at exactly what we can do to detect, prevent, and correct this massive, systemic human error.
You know the exact pain I'm talking about here. You're sitting there in gridlock, gripping the steering wheel, just staring at this endless sea of red tail lights. And you're probably thinking, man, if I only had one of those sleek, driverless robo-taxis right now, I could just kick back, read a book, and let the algorithm handle all this. We've all been sold this vision, the idea that AI will wipe out human error, instantly vaporize traffic jams, and give us our lives back. But hold that thought, because your brain is probably feeling a little cognitive dissonance right about now. That promised sci-fi future, it really isn't matching the absolute chaos we're actually starting to see out on our streets.
Okay, let's dive into this because look, we all share this deep desire for that futuristic sci-fi world. We want that clean, sleek efficiency. But right now, we are dealing with the incredibly messy reality of untested beta tech trying to navigate the wild, unpredictable chaos of human behavior. I mean, you've got these advanced sensors desperately trying to predict what a jaywalker is going to do, or a stray animal, or just an erratic human driver. We're currently living right in that friction point. It's this clash between the pristine marketing brochures from big tech companies and the muddy, unpredictable reality of our actual physical world. So, to figure out where we're actually heading, I dug deep into the latest data from the Victoria Transport Policy Institute. And honestly, what their analysis reveals completely shatters this myth of an imminent magical tech utopia. Take a look at this S-curve. This shows the projections for when autonomous vehicles will actually take over the roads. The hard data shows that true affordable level 5 autonomy, and by that I mean a car with literally zero steering wheel that can drive absolutely anywhere in any weather without you doing a thing, that will not be a standard feature on most vehicles until the 2060s. That is 4 decades away. The whole idea that you're going to buy a cheap, fully autonomous pod in the next 5 years and just never deal with traffic again, it's simply not supported by the evidence.
Let's break down this timeline so we can see how this actually plays out. This is how autonomous transport tech will evolve. Right now, in the 2020s, we are basically in an era of development and testing chaos. By the 2030s, sure, you might see them around, but they're going to carry a massive price premium. We're talking maybe extra 10 grand just for the software and hardware. But I really want you to focus right here on the 2040s. Even 20 years from now, with a moderate price premium, these vehicles are only projected to make up about 20 to 40% of new sales. And that highlights a massive decades-long gap between today's public beta testing and any sort of widespread affordable adoption. For the foreseeable future, robot-driven cars and human-driven cars are going to be forced to awkwardly share the exact same roads.
Now, let's shift gears for a second, because we need to address a genuinely terrifying possibility. A report from Kearney puts it incredibly bluntly. Robotaxis won't fix congestion, they'll reinvent it. Just imagine this. Instead of a human driver paying for expensive downtown parking, they just hop out and tell their robot taxi to circle the block for 2 hours while they're in a meeting. Now picture thousands of empty, algorithmically driven cars endlessly circling our city centers, just hunting for fares or literally just killing time to avoid paying parking fees. Urban planners are actively warning us that we aren't eliminating congestion here. We are at serious risk of automating it. We'd just be replacing human driving error with a massive, systemic urban planning error.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the wild contrast in how local governments are reacting to all this hype. Enter Autonomous Rapid Transit, or ART. Marketers and tech companies are aggressively selling cities on this idea of a digital train. I mean, it looks like a train, it sounds super futuristic, and it supposedly follows painted lines on the road using optical sensors. But the operational reality? There are absolutely no physical rails. It's essentially just a massive rubber-tired bus. And the craziest part? Despite having the word autonomous right there in the name, all currently operating ART vehicles require a human driver to sit there and manually control the speed and braking. Transit experts have a great name for this. They call it a Gadgetbahn, just a flashy, extremely expensive gadget masquerading as a revolutionary rail replacement.
And you know what? The cracks in this marketing facade are already showing everywhere. Because of our core mission here at the Human Error News Network is to detect and prevent mistakes, we really need to look at what's happening globally.
In late 2024, Indonesia tested an ART system for their new capital city. The result? Total failure. They halted the project and actually returned the vehicles to China because the automatic control systems just didn't work. They required constant manual intervention. Over in Malaysia, a pilot project in Putrajaya that was supposed to run through 2024 was scrapped entirely by early 2026. The implementation costs just ballooned out of control. Plus, without actual rails, the massive weight of these guided vehicles just wears deep, damaging ruts straight into standard asphalt, which means you need super expensive road reinforcements anyway. The operational reality completely failed the marketing hype. So, before we go any further, I want you to ask yourself a serious question, and let me know what you think down in the comments. Should your local government be dedicating public tax dollars and carving out exclusive lanes on your local roads for proprietary tech that most people can't even afford to use? Because honestly, that is exactly the human error we are teetering on the very edge of right now. So the crucial point is the massive social equity crisis that is just bubbling under the surface here. Remember that $10,000 price premium for a private autonomous vehicle we talked about? Well, that instantly restricts this tech strictly to the wealthy. But it actually gets worse. Researchers have found that route-optimizing algorithms might systematically bypass low-income neighborhoods entirely, just to maximize efficiency or profitability. And if cities start carving out dedicated AV-only platooning lanes to make these incredibly expensive cars move faster, they are literally cannibalizing the public road space that we desperately need for standard, human-driven buses. Researchers are pointing out that this acts as a deeply regressive public subsidy. We'd be giving prime real estate to low-occupancy, private luxury vehicles entirely at the expense of everyone else. And if these transportation models hold true, we are staring down the barrel of an equitable transit collapse. Models are projecting that if cheap, unregulated robotaxis flood a city, they're going to aggressively compete with public transport. Think about it. A seamless, private, autonomous ride can easily replace a clunky bus transfer for anyone who has the money. And because of that, public transit ridership could plunge by up to 75%. When ridership drops like that, funding plummets, the transit system deteriorates. And the low-income populations who rely entirely on affordable bus routes, they get left stranded in a transit desert. We absolutely have to solve this collaboratively before the whole system breaks. To prevent this specific human error, the data suggests we really need to focus on shared solutions for mobility. When you actually sit down and evaluate the cost and infrastructure, it becomes crystal clear. Proprietary private robotaxis, they come with super high consumer costs, terrible occupancy rates, and they actually increase road congestion. But standard autonomous public transit, think self-driving high-occupancy buses operating on shared infrastructure, that changes the game. It dramatically lowers operating costs, which could allow cities to run buses 24/7. And that is how you genuinely improve job access and mobility for low-income populations, by making public transit significantly better and cheaper for everyone, not by replacing it with a fleet of private robotic cabs. And this brilliantly illustrates the core conflict we are seeing on our streets right now. Whenever you see one of those proprietary vehicles, completely covered in spinning sensors, just testing on your local streets, recognize what is actually happening. Tech companies are utilizing our publicly funded streets as their free, completely unregulated testing grounds. If things go wrong, the public bears all the risk and deals with the massive traffic delays. But if things go right, the tech company privatizes all the profits. Critics are arguing that this is a fundamental, massive shift in urban planning, and we are just allowing it to happen right under our noses. But it's not all doom and gloom, because here is the clear mental roadmap transit advocates are proposing to correct our course. Step 1. We have to detect the marketing hype. When a city council proposes a shiny new digital trackless tram, citizens need to step up and demand actual proof of its cost-effectiveness, rather than just blindly accepting an overpriced bus. Step 2. Prevent the cannibalization of standard public transit. Planners are heavily warning against letting autonomous vehicles steal critical everyday bus lanes. And Step 3. Correct urban policy. Advocacy groups are pushing local leaders hard to fund high-occupancy, autonomous public transit that benefits the entire community, not just the elite few who can afford the latest proprietary robotaxi. So we've uncovered the massive gaps in the autonomous transit timeline. We've looked at the severe social equity threats and the total operational failures of these so-called trackless trains. But as we stare at this technology that boldly claims to be completely free of human input, it raises one final glaring question. If these systems are failing in the real world, who is intervening? Who exactly makes up the invisible, underpaid, remote human labor force that is secretly steering these supposedly autonomous systems from thousands of miles away? That is the next massive human error we have to investigate. Stay vigilant.